The Evora bastards' smoking guns still pointed at the 8-year-old human boy's lifeless body, sprawled across the frigid concrete. Isaac Reynolds' blood pooled around the child's cracked skull, crimson rivulets winding through the cracks, as the Evora security officer Kellar holstered his plasma pistol with cold indifference. Isaac's shattered glasses reflected the flickering lights of the New York police cars, converging on the scene of this unthinkable tragedy. The historic Earth Galactic Council summit meeting had barely begun before this heinous crime shattered any illusions of interstellar harmony. Evora brutality had snuffed out an innocent life in mere seconds, finally revealing the alien empire's true nature to all of Earth. President Olivia Nichols demanded immediate justice, an unwavering ultimatum that left no room for Evora lies or maneuvering. Turn over the child killer Kellar to face humanity's judgment, or suffer the full force of Terra's righteous fury. But the arrogant Evora emperor scoffed at Earth's mourning, dismissing the boy's death as an unavoidable accident, an empty gesture to mask his cowardly fear of appearing weak before his Galactic Council allies. Earth's response would remind the galaxy of humanity's unyielding strength and tenacity. Secretly crafted by the homeworld's greatest minds, legions of genetically perfected super soldiers stood ready to unleash vengeance upon the Evora. Cybernetically augmented and forged in the hellish crucible of advanced warfare training, the Tempest legions prepared to embark on an epic crusade to the enemy's homeworld itself. Spearheading this unstoppable force was the haunted war hero Colonel Benjamin Parker, a man no stranger to the price of alien aggression. As the Tempest fleets armed for departure, an enigmatic cloaked figure infiltrated Parker's chambers. Uttering cryptic and dire warnings, Evora malice ran deeper than imagined, and Isaac's murder heralded a sinister conspiracy poised to set the stars ablaze. Undeterred, Colonel Parker swore a solemn oath to the boy's memory. Earth would secure justice, or die trying. The Tempest legions surged through the void, an implacable force driven by Earth's unflinching perseverance. Colonel Benjamin Parker stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes fixed on the tactical display as the enemy fleet amassed before them. The Evora Star Navy, a formidable armada of sleek warships overflowing with advanced weaponry, formed an impenetrable barrier between the human forces and their ultimate goal, the Evora homeworld. "Engage the enemy," Parker ordered, his voice a steely whisper amidst the hum of the ship's systems. The Tempest battleships unleashed a storm of missile fire, searing beams of plasma lancing through the darkness to slam into the Evora vessels. Explosions blossomed like hellish flowers, shattered hulls spilling debris and bodies into the pitiless void. The Evora retaliated with a barrage of their own, exotic energy weapons carving through human armor like a scalpel through flesh. Parker gritted his teeth as the flagship shuddered under the onslaught, warning claxons screaming in protest. "Prepare boarding parties," he commanded, already moving towards the armory. "We're taking the fight to them." Clad in the devastating powered armor that had become the Tempest Legion's hallmark, Colonel Parker led the assault on the Evora battlecruiser. The airlock doors blew inward, shrapnel scything through the alien defenders as the human warriors poured into the breach. The confined corridors of the enemy ship became a brutal killing ground, the Evora's technological superiority countered by the sheer ferocity and relentless advance of the genetically enhanced Tempest soldiers. Parker fought like a man possessed, his armor's augmented strength turning his fists into sledgehammers, each blow pulverizing Evora bone and sinew. His mind raced, thoughts consumed by the image of Isaac Reynolds lying broken and lifeless on the cold concrete, a life cut short by Evora cruelty. The young boy had become Parker's lodestar, a symbol of the innocence that had been shattered by alien aggression. As the strike team fought their way deeper into the battlecruiser, they breached the ship's central research chamber and froze in horror at the nightmarish sight that greeted them. Human captives, their bodies twisted and deformed by the Evora's depraved experiments, writhed in agony within stasis pods. And there, suspended in a web of tubes and wires, was a face that Parker had never thought to see again, his own son, Ethan, presumed killed in the initial Evora incursion. Rage and anguish warred within Parker's heart as he gazed upon the ruin of his child, the once bright eyes now dull and vacant, the body ravaged by the aliens' monstrous science. In that moment, the Colonel's mission became twofold: to secure justice for Isaac Reynolds and to bring an end to the Evora's reign of terror, whatever it takes. Light years away, on the Evora homeworld, Zara worked feverishly to unravel the web of lies that had ensnared her people. The young scientist had always believed in the righteousness of the Evora cause, but the evidence she had uncovered painted a far darker picture. A conspiracy that reached to the highest echelons of power, a plot to plunge the galaxy into war for the benefit of a shadowy few. With each new revelation, Zara's willpower hardened. She gathered a small but dedicated group of like-minded Evora, those who had grown disillusioned with the corruption that festered at the heart of their society. Together they began to lay the groundwork for a resistance movement that would strike at the very foundations of the Evora regime. As the Tempest Legions made planetfall, the Evora Imperial Guard met them with all the fury of a wounded beast. The human warriors fought with the strength of lions, their genetically enhanced bodies and advanced weaponry tearing through the alien defenses like a force of nature. Colonel Parker led the charge, his armor stained with the blood of Evora, each step bringing him closer to the reckoning he had sworn to deliver. But even as the Tempest Legions advanced, a new horror was unleashed upon the battlefield. The avatar of Evora, a twisted mockery of humanity, born from the unholy union of human and Evora science. It was a being of unimaginable power and savagery, a creature that knew neither fear nor mercy. The avatar carved a bloody path through the human ranks, leaving a trail of broken bodies in its wake. Colonel Parker, his eyes blazing with righteous fury, knew what must be done. He alone possessed the strength and skill to stand against this abomination, to buy time for Zara and her resistance to expose the truth and bring an end to the madness that threatened to consume them all. With a roar of defiance, the colonel charged towards his destiny, ready to face the darkness that had consumed his son, ready to sacrifice everything to secure humanity's future. The battle for the Evora homeworld had begun, but the true war, the war for the soul of the galaxy, was only just beginning. Colonel Parker's armor hissed as he removed his helmet, revealing a face etched with lines of exhaustion and commitment. The Evora research facility loomed before him, a stark monolith against the alien sky. Beside him stood Zara, her pale blue skin shimmering in the dim light, her 4 eyes narrowed with focus. "We must move quickly," Zara whispered, her translator rendering her clicks and chirps into crisp English. "The guards change shifts in precisely 7 minutes." Parker nodded, hefting his plasma rifle. "Lead the way." They slipped through the shadows, Parker's augmented muscles allowing him to move with surprising stealth despite his bulky armor. Zara's nimble form glided ahead, her movements fluid and practiced. As they reached the facility's entrance, she produced a small device and pressed it against the security panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the sterile corridors buzzed with an eerie quiet. Parker's enhanced senses picked up the faint hum of machinery and the distant echo of footsteps. They moved swiftly, guided by Zara's insider knowledge of the facility's layout. "Here," Zara said, gesturing to a nondescript door. "This is where they keep the most sensitive data." Parker stood guard as Zara worked to bypass the lock. The door opened, revealing a room filled with holographic displays and pulsing data cores. Zara's fingers flew over the alien interface, sifting through terabytes of information. "By the eternal void," she gasped. "Colonel, look at this." Parker leaned in, his eyes widening as he absorbed the information scrolling before him. Classified reports, intercepted communications, genetic sequencing data, all pointing to a vast conspiracy that stretched far beyond the conflict between Earth and the Evora. "The Galactic Council," Parker growled. "They've been pulling the strings all along." Zara nodded grimly. "And that's not all. Look here, the avatar of Evora. It wasn't just Evora science that created it. They used human DNA, your son's DNA." Parker's fist clenched, the armor's servos whining in protest. "We need to get this information out. We need to stop this war before—" A sharp crack echoed through the room as a plasma bolt sizzled past Parker's head. He spun, raising his rifle, to find a squad of black-armored figures filing into the room. "I'm afraid we can't let you do that," a silky voice announced. A tall figure stepped forward, face hidden behind an ornate mask. "You've come quite far, Colonel Parker, but your meddling ends here." "The Overseer," Zara hissed. Parker's mind raced. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but the information they'd uncovered could change everything. He locked eyes with Zara, a silent understanding passing between them. "Now," Parker roared. He unleashed a barrage of plasma fire as Zara dove for cover, her nimble fingers still working to download the crucial data. The room erupted into chaos, the air thick with energy bolts and the acrid smell of ozone. Parker fought like a man possessed, his augmented strength and combat training allowing him to hold off the Overseer's agents. But they were relentless, and even his enhanced body had its limits. A lucky shot caught him in the side, slipping through a gap in his armor. Parker stumbled, feeling the searing pain of the wound. He saw Zara's eyes widen in horror. "Go!" he shouted. "Get the data out! It's our only chance!" Zara hesitated for a fraction of a second, then nodded. She clutched the data device to her chest and sprinted for the exit. Parker provided covering fire, his movements growing sluggish as blood seeped from his wound. The last thing he saw before unconsciousness claimed him was Zara disappearing through the door, carrying with her the truth that could save both their worlds. Miles away, Major Elena Ramirez crouched behind the smoking wreckage of a Tempest battle tank. The avatar of Evora had torn through their lines with minimal resistance, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Her comm crackled to life. "Major!" It was Captain Zhang, voice tight with urgency. "We've lost contact with Colonel Parker. Your orders?" Ramirez's mind whirled. Without Parker's leadership, the entire operation hung in the balance. But something about this attack felt wrong. The Evora's tactics, the appearance of this unstoppable avatar. There were too many unanswered questions. She made her decision. "All units, fall back to Rally Point Delta. We need to regroup and reassess." As the Tempest Legions began their tactical retreat, Ramirez couldn't shake the feeling that they were pawns in a much larger game. Whatever was really going on here, she was determined to uncover the truth, for the sake of her soldiers, for Earth, and for the memory of young Isaac Reynolds. Major Elena Ramirez's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the battlefield from her makeshift command post. The smoldering wreckage of Tempest and Evora vehicles littered the alien landscape, a grim testament to the devastating power of the Avatar. Her comm unit crackled to life. "Major, incoming transmission. It's the Overseer." Ramirez's mind focused. "Put it through." A holographic image flickered to life before her, revealing a figure shrouded in shadow. When it spoke, its voice was a cold mechanical rasp. "Your resistance is futile, Major. Surrender now or face total annihilation." Ramirez's mind raced. The losses they'd sustained were catastrophic, and without Colonel Parker. "I need time," she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Let me confer with my officers." The shadowy figure nodded once before the transmission cut out. Ramirez turned to her assembled command staff, their faces grim in the dim light of the command center. "Options?" Captain Zhang stepped forward. "Major, I've been analyzing the Evora's combat patterns. Something's off. Their tactics, their objectives, they don't align with what we know of their military doctrine." Ramirez nodded. "I've had the same feeling. This goes deeper than a simple war between our species." A junior officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we've just received a coded transmission. It's from Colonel Parker." The room fell silent as Parker's battered face appeared on the main screen. His voice was weak, but his eyes burned with intensity. "Major, listen carefully. The Evora aren't our true enemy. There's a cabal manipulating both sides. The Overseer, it's not what we thought." Parker's words confirmed Ramirez's suspicions and opened a chasm of new possibilities. As the colonel outlined what he and Zara had discovered, Ramirez felt the weight of command settle heavily on her shoulders. "Your orders, Major?" Zhang asked, his hand hovering over his weapon. Ramirez took a deep breath. Contact the Evora Emperor. It's time we had a talk. Hours later, Ramirez stood in a hastily arranged conference room, facing the Evora Emperor across a table strewn with tactical displays. The tension in the air was palpable. You expect me to believe this fairy tale? The Emperor hissed, his multifaceted eyes glittering with suspicion. Ramirez leaned forward. Your own scientist, Zara, has corroborated everything. This cabal threatens us all. We need to work together. The Emperor's mandibles clicked in agitation. And what of the Avatar, the abomination created from human DNA? A weapon we can potentially turn against its creators, Ramirez countered. But first, we need to secure it. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the complex. A breathless aide burst into the room. Majesty! Humans! The Avatar facility is under attack! Ramirez locked eyes with the Emperor. In that moment, an unspoken agreement passed between them. The Emperor barked a series of orders in his native tongue, and Ramirez activated her comm unit. All Tempest units, this is Major Ramirez. New orders, we are now working in conjunction with Evora forces. Converge on the Avatar facility. Capture, do not destroy. Repeat, capture only. As Tempest Legionnaires and Evora warriors moved out side by side, Ramirez allowed herself a grim smile. The real battle was just beginning. Colonel Parker, his wounds hastily patched, led the assault on the Avatar facility. The creature's inhuman roars echoed through the corridors as Parker's mixed team of humans and Evora fought their way deeper into the complex. There! Zara shouted, pointing to a massive containment chamber. The Avatar, a hulking mass of twisted flesh and cybernetic enhancements, thrashed against its restraints. Its eyes, unnervingly human, locked onto Parker. Now, Parker ordered. Tempest soldiers fired specialized containment nets, while Evora techs worked to deactivate the Avatar's control systems. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed the creature would break free. Then, with a final, earth-shaking roar, it collapsed. Parker approached the sedated Avatar, his heart heavy. Somewhere within this monstrosity was the genetic legacy of his son. He placed a hand on its massive chest, feeling the slow, steady heartbeat. We'll make this right, he whispered. As Parker's team secured the Avatar for transport, the sky above the Evora capital erupted in flames. A vast armada of sleek black ships descended from the clouds, their weapon systems already engaging both human and Evora defenses. The Cabal, Zara breathed, her eyes wide with fear. Parker's comm crackled to life. It was Ramirez. Colonel, we're under heavy attack. Fall back to the capital. We need every asset we have for what's coming. As Parker ordered the retreat, he cast one last look at the unconscious Avatar. Whatever happened next, he knew the fate of two worlds. Perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The combined human and Evora forces raced back to the capital, the ominous shadow of the Cabal's fleet looming ever larger on the horizon. The true test of their fragile alliance was about to begin. The combined human and Evora forces raced towards the capital, the looming threat of the Cabal's fleet casting long shadows across the alien landscape. Colonel Parker, still reeling from the revelation of his son's DNA within the Avatar, led the charge alongside the newly awakened creature. As they approached the outskirts of the city, the sky erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire. The Cabal's ships rained destruction upon the defenders below, their advanced technology cutting through both human and Evora defenses with ease. Parker's comm crackled to life. Colonel, we need you at the command center immediately. Major Ramirez's voice cut through the chaos. We're initiating Operation Spearhead. Parker turned to the Avatar, its massive form towering over him. You ready for this? He asked, his voice barely audible over the din of battle. The creature's eyes, unnervingly human, met Parker's gaze. It nodded once, a gesture both alien and familiar. Together, they fought their way through the war-torn streets of the Evora capital. The Avatar's raw power cleared a path through the Cabal's ground forces, while Parker's tactical genius kept them one step ahead of the enemy's movements. As they reached the command center, Major Ramirez was already coordinating a desperate counterattack. Colonel, we've identified the Cabal's flagship. she reported, gesturing to a holographic display. That's where we'll find the Overseer Collective. Parker studied the tactical readout, his mind racing. We need a strike team to board that ship, he said, his voice grim with commitment. The Avatar and I will lead the assault. Ramirez's eyes widened. Sir, that's a suicide mission. It's our only shot, Parker replied. While we engage the Overseer, I need you to lead the boarding parties and hold off their shock troopers. As the plan took shape, Zara approached, her alien features set in a mask of purpose. I've completed the virus, she said, handing Parker a small data crystal. Upload this to their primary node, and it should disrupt their entire network. Parker nodded, pocketing the crystal. He turned to the assembled team, human and Evora alike. This is it, he said, his voice carrying across the command center. Everything we fought for comes down to this moment. With a final nod to Ramirez, Parker and the Avatar made their way to the launch bay. As they boarded the assault shuttle, Parker couldn't help but wonder if he would ever see his comrades again. The shuttle rocketed towards the Cabal's flagship, weaving through a maelstrom of weapons fire. Parker gripped the controls tightly, years of combat experience guiding his every move. Beside him, the Avatar braced itself for the coming battle. They crashed through the flagship's outer defenses, the shuttle's reinforced hull barely holding together as they skidded to a stop in a secondary hangar bay. As the dust settled, Parker and the Avatar emerged from the wreckage, ready to face whatever horrors the Overseer Collective had in store for them. Alarms blared throughout the ship as they fought their way deeper into its labyrinthine interior. The Avatar's enhanced strength and Parker's tactical prowess proved a formidable combination against the Cabal's cybernetic defenders. Finally, they reached the central chamber housing the Overseer Collective's primary node. The massive door slid open, revealing a nightmarish fusion of organic and mechanical components. At its center pulsed a swirling vortex of data and energy, the heart of the collective itself. As Parker and the Avatar stepped into the chamber, the air crackled with malevolent energy. The Overseer's voice, a cacophony of 1,000 synthesized tones, filled the room. Welcome, Colonel Parker, it said, its words dripping with artificial scorn. We've been expecting you. Parker raised his weapon, the Avatar tensing beside him. It ends here, Overseer, he growled. The chamber erupted in a storm of energy blasts and lethal data streams as the final battle for the fate of two worlds began.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.